Milo stood at the whiteboard, confident, prepared. This was his API redesign presentation. 6 weeks of work distilled into 40 slides. The senior team was there. His VP, David, 3 department heads, and Daniel. Daniel, who had told Milo yesterday he thought the presentation was looking really solid. Milo's slide deck was the wrong version. Not the final version he'd saved Friday, the draft from 2 weeks ago, before all the revisions. He tried to recover, explained the version issue, promised to resend the correct deck. After the meeting, Daniel was the first to speak.
That was rough, man. I'm sure it'll be fine, though. These things happen.
These things happen. But with Daniel, these things always seem to happen to Milo. In this episode, you'll watch Milo uncover one of the most damaging and hardest to prove forms of workplace manipulation: passive aggression. You'll see how it works, why it's so effective, and the exact strategies Milo used to neutralize it without losing his professionalism or his mind. This is Milo's story, but if you've ever felt sabotaged by someone who was always perfectly polite about it, it's yours too. "8 weeks ago, Daniel joined the senior engineering team. First impressions were excellent. Experienced, well-spoken, collaborative. Or so it seemed.
Milo, right? I've heard great things. Looking forward to working together.
Milo had no reason to be suspicious. Didn't see what was coming. The first 2 weeks, easy, surface-level chemistry. Harmless small talk by the coffee maker, lots of easy laughs. Daniel picking Milo's brain about the code base, and Milo happily showing him the ropes. Team lunches where they'd sit next to each other, totally at ease. On the surface, Daniel was everything a colleague should be. Week 3, Milo noticed the first thing.
Progress is strong. We're about 70% through the back-end refactor.
70% seems optimistic given the auth issues.
Huh? It was quiet enough that Milo couldn't be sure what he'd heard. Loud enough to plant a seed of doubt. That was the first thing. There would be many more. Week 4, the monthly architecture review. Milo's calendar showed nothing. He found out about it when he walked past the conference room and saw his entire team inside.
Milo, good gird, come in. We were just starting the architecture review.
Sorry, I didn't have this on my calendar.
Oh no, I forwarded the invite to everyone. Did it go to spam, maybe?
Everyone else had the invite. The meeting went on. Milo caught up as best as he could, contributed less than he should have. After the meeting,
So weird about the calendar thing. Tech glitches, right? Yeah. Weird.
passive aggression, the invisible weapon. Passive aggression is indirect hostility, expressing negative feelings through behavior rather than words. It operates through plausible deniability. Every act can be explained away individually. Common workplace tactics: deliberate exclusion, disguised as oversight; strategic undermining, framed as concern; convenient forgetfulness, affecting only certain people; backhanded compliments. That was good, for someone at your level. Weaponized incompetence, doing tasks poorly to avoid responsibility. Subtle credit theft, rephrasing your idea as their own moments later. Why it's so effective? Each incident seems too small to report. Together, they create a pattern of sustained damage. The target questions themselves before they question the perpetrator. Week 5. Personal attacks disguised as feedback.
Hey, how'd the VP meeting go yesterday? Good, I think. David seemed happy with the progress. That's great. I just hope the timeline concerns don't come back to bite you.
but I'm sure you've thought through all that. What timeline concerns? Oh, nothing specific. Just heard some chatter. I'm sure it's nothing. You know how people talk.
Anyway, looking good overall. Keep it up.
Daniel hadn't said anything specific, hadn't made any accusation. But now Milo was worried about a problem he couldn't identify, from a source he couldn't verify. That was the point. Friday evening, Milo saved the final version of his API presentation to the shared drive, triple-checked the file name, closed his laptop. Monday morning, the wrong version appeared. His final version was still there, but the shared presentation link Daniel had sent to the meeting room had pulled the old draft. Daniel had sent the link. Daniel had chosen which file to link. But Milo had no proof. It could have been a mistake. It could have been tech issues. It could have been anything. That was the problem. It could always have been anything. Monday night, unpacking it all with Emma.
I can't prove any of it. The calendar invite, the vague comments, the presentation, each thing by itself is nothing. Together, it feels like a coordinated attack.
Have you talked to anyone at work about it?
What do I say? My colleague forgot to add me to a meeting and said my presentation was looking solid? I'd sound paranoid.
Milo, what does your gut tell you?
That it's intentional. Every single time.
Why passive aggression is so hard to confront. The target faces a psychological trap. If they speak up, you're overreacting. These are just accidents. If they stay silent, the behavior continues and escalates. If they retaliate, they become the aggressor on record. If they do nothing, the passive aggressor wins by default. This is called plausible deniability, the deliberate construction of behavior that can always be explained away. The passive aggressor's power comes entirely from the target's inability to prove intent. Breaking it requires a different strategy entirely.
Week 6, Milo met with Marcus. Not to vent, to strategize.
Every single thing he does has a perfectly innocent explanation. I can't call it out without looking crazy.
That's by design. What you're describing is classic passive aggression. The playbook is always the same. Create damage, maintain deniability. Let the target destroy their own credibility by trying to report something they can't prove. So what do? 3 things. First, you document everything.
Not to report yet, just to see the pattern clearly yourself. Dates, times, what was said, who witnessed it. Second, you remove his ability to use you as his instrument. Every communication with Daniel goes in writing from now on. Email, Slack, everything.
No more verbal-only conversations he can later misremember.
And third,
you stop trying to prove his intent. You can't win that game.
Instead, you manage outcomes. You control the narrative before he can twist it.
Next presentation, you send the final file directly to David yourself. CC the whole team, with a timestamp. You take away the opportunity.
Milo had been trying to prove Daniel was doing something wrong. Marcus was teaching him something more powerful. Make it impossible for Daniel to do it again.
Move 1. Documentation. Written down, the pattern was undeniable, even if Milo was the only one who would ever see this document.
Move 2. Written communication. What Daniel said verbally, Milo confirmed in writing. Every time, without exception. Move 3. Controlling the narrative. He'd taken the opportunity away before Daniel could reach for it. The rescheduled presentation ran perfectly.
The API redesign reduces response time by 68% and cuts infrastructure costs by $22,000 annually.
Daniel had nothing to work with. No missed invite, no wrong file, no vague concerns to whisper. Because Milo had closed every door before Daniel could find them.
Week 8, Daniel adapted.
I think the API work has been solid overall. Though I do wonder if we should have looped in the security team earlier. Milo, was that something you considered?
A public question designed to make Milo either defend a decision or admit an oversight.
Yes, security review was completed in week 3. I have the sign-off email if anyone wants it.
Great. Moving on.
The trap had no teeth because Milo had the documentation.
Hey, no offense meant in there, just asking questions. No offense taken. I keep good records.
4 words. No accusation, no aggression. Just the quiet communication of something Daniel now understood clearly. Milo knew, and Milo was prepared.
How are things with Daniel? Better, not because he stopped, but because I stopped giving him anything to work with. I realized I was spending all my energy trying to expose him. Now I spend it protecting my work, and that's the part that actually matters.
That's the shift. You can't control what he does. You can control what he can do to you.
I used to leave every interaction with him feeling crazy, like I couldn't trust my own judgment. Now I document, I communicate in writing, I control my own narrative, and that feeling is gone.
Three weeks later, Milo's API project launched successfully, was recognized in the all-hands meeting, and was attributed clearly to Milo's leadership.
The API redesign, Milo's project, delivered 68% improvement in response time and $22,000 in annual savings. Exceptional work.
Daniel had not disappeared. He hadn't changed, was still exactly who he was. But Milo had changed, and that changed everything. Later, Milo sits with it all, journaling his thoughts. Here's what Milo learned about passive aggression and your takeaway. Lessons that saved his career and his sanity, and just might do the same for yours. Lesson number 1, name it to neutralize it. Passive aggression thrives in the unnamed space between something's wrong and I can't prove it. The moment Milo had a name for what Daniel was doing, it lost half its power. You're not paranoid. You're not oversensitive. If the pattern is consistent and always benefits one person at another's expense, that's not coincidence. That's strategy. Lesson number 2, document everything. For yourself first. Milo's documentation wasn't initially about reporting Daniel. It was about trusting his own perception. Passive aggression works by making the target doubt themselves. A written record is an anchor to reality. When you write it down, the pattern becomes visible, and you stop questioning your own judgment. Lesson number 3, move everything to writing. Passive aggression depends on verbal ambiguity, things that were said but can't be proven, instructions that were given but conveniently misremembered. Written communication doesn't just protect you legally, it removes the passive aggressor's primary tool, the gap between what was said and what can be proven. Lesson number 4, control outcomes, not intent. Milo couldn't prove Daniel intended to sabotage the presentation. What he could do was make sabotage impossible by sending files directly, CCing the team, and owning his narrative before anyone else could touch it.
You cannot control a passive-aggressive person. You can control what they have access to. That's where your energy belongs. These lessons didn't make Milo's workplace perfect. Daniel was still there, still difficult, still exactly who he was. But Milo had stopped trying to win a fight he couldn't prove was happening. He'd started winning the one that mattered, the work itself.
You cannot expose what refuses to be direct. You can only remove what it feeds on. Your doubt, your unprotected work, and your unrecorded conversations. In the next episode, Mira's closest friend goes silent. No fight, no explanation, no warning, just silence. And Mira has to figure out whether it's punishment, pain, or something she never saw coming.
You just watched Milo go from doubting his own perception of reality to making covert sabotage structurally impossible. Not because he was exceptional, because he finally understood what was actually happening. That's the only thing that ever changes anything.
So here's my question. Where are you in this story right now? Because the Episode 8 Psychology Playbook in the description
was made for exactly that question. Free. 2 pages. Everything you need to apply this, not just understand it.
And if this felt uncomfortably familiar, drop it in the comments. Naming it is where it starts. I read every one. Next episode, Mira's closest friend
goes completely silent. No fight, no warning, just absence. Subscribe so you're there. Every story teaches a principle.
Every principle changes behavior. Every behavior shapes a life. See you in the next one.